All right, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. This is the webinar for SunWize solar module mounts and battery enclosures. My name is Amy Fong and I will be your moderator today. We are recording this webinar and we will share both the recording and the slides with everyone after this. Everyone is currently in listen-only mode. If you have a question, please use that question box that you were so kindly using earlier to let me know you can all hear me. And we will try to answer some questions as we go along, but if we don't get to it, we will do a Q&A section at the end of this webinar, time permitting, because we don't want to use more than the hour that we've allotted for this. I have SunWize Sales Executive Patrick Rogers with me, as well as Travis Heiss, one of our engineers, for any technical questions that may come up. To give you a background of SunWize Power and Battery, we design and build reliable standalone industrial power solutions and electronic assemblies for integration into OEM products and off-grid field applications. With over 20 years of reliability in extreme environments, our solar battery backup and hybrid power systems are pre-engineered, assembled, and tested for easy installation and minimal maintenance. We also offer a broad spectrum of remote industrial power system components, such as electrical components, batteries, solar modules, enclosures, and solar module mounts. So all of these items can be found on our SunWize Connect website, which is an online ordering portal. You can see product specifications, availability, and then once you have an account with us, you can also see your order history, any open invoices, as well as finding tracking. So we're going to review this again at the end of the webinar on how you can set up an account, but you can go ahead and go to sunwiseconnect.com and take a look at our product catalog as well. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to Patrick so that he can go in depth into our solar module mounts. Patrick, take it away.
Well, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining. I'll tell you a little bit about myself to start off. I've been with SunWize for 8 years. Actually 8 years today. I hired in April 7, 2007, working exclusively in the off-grid solar market. And when we talk about off-grid, it's mostly what we call industrial, even though the word industrial does not do justice to actually what we do. We do traffic, oil and gas, environmental monitoring and control, all sorts of different applications where there's remote power is needed. For the first 6 years, I worked and sold systems and components, and for the last 2 years I've been doing components exclusively. So let's start it off with our solar module mounts. Amy, next slide please. First of all, SunWize has been making these mounts for longer than I've been working at SunWize. They're robust products. I can just testify from any kind of problems that we've had over the years. They've been almost non-existent. They're designed for 90 to 110 mile per hour wind loads if you use the proper solar panels with them. They're just a high quality product. They're known in the marketplace. They're demanded in the marketplace. So they've been around for longer than I have with SunWize. And we've made some tweaks. We've increased our product offerings. But essentially the design is the same design as it's been for many years. So what are the basic types of mounts? You have side-of-pole mounts, top-of-pole mounts, roof mounts, and ground mounts. Now of those four, I'm going to say that side-of-pole mounts comprise, at least in our industrial sector, a good 75 to 85% of the mounts sold. The reason why is they're the most economical, easiest to install, a little more forgiving than top-of-pole mounts, and those basic reasons. So as long as you can get that solar array up high enough on a pole to hit the sun 12 months out of the year, especially in the wintertime too, when the sun is low on the horizon, side-of-pole mount works just fine. Top-of-pole mounts are two-part products that require gimbals. Roof mounts are usually flush mounted on the roof, and ground mounts are obviously mounted on the ground and set at an angle optimal to the sun. So let's go to the next slide, please. Okay, we have two different types of side of pole mounts. We have an economy mount, which is basically 3 SKUs, 3 part numbers. That can handle a solar module basically up to about 55 watts or lower. It's basically $50, $49 mounts that are very economical. They're highly popular. One of those SKUs is our #1 selling mount, and it probably sells half as much as the entire sales for the rest of all of our mounts. The pole obviously is supplied locally because of local building codes. How is the mount sized? We'll get into that. Both these mounts are actually adjustable to certain angles. The one on the bottom left is the economy mount that I was talking about, and the one on the top right is the more robust mount, which we have a lot more offerings for single panel and multiple panel. So see on the bottom, the adjustable mount tilt is quite extreme. You've got quite a lot of options there. Next slide, please, Amy.
I've had a request, Patrick, for you to speak a little bit louder.
Okay. Is this better?
Sounds good to me. Yeah.
I'm going to go to the phone and take it off the headphones here. Maybe that's a little better. Okay. So we're going through some pictures of the side of pole mounts. And the picture's worth 1,000 words. You can just see how they're mounted, usually stacked above the battery enclosure, which we'll talk about later. And these are just single pole mounts. Notice that the modules are primarily mounted in landscape orientation, and the rails stick out perpendicular from the pole and slant down, and the modules are mounted across from those 2 rails, one on the right and one on the left. So let's go to the next slide. And these are multiple module solar panels. Again, side of pole mount. Notice they're mounted on a telephone pole, so there are options to mount these mounts on a wide array of poles. Sometimes they're configured in the field to do that, and other times we have certain mounts that we sell that are mounted on a 2 to 4 inch pole, a 4 to 6 inch pole, 8 to 10 inch pole, and we actually have an accessory to mount on a telephone pole. Okay, next slide. And it's up to 4 modules on a side of pole mount. That's basically the limit right there. And go ahead, Amy. Next slide, please. And these are basically, I'll remind you there, these are all SunWize mounts. We'll see a couple words about DPW mounts later, but this is a SunWize presentation. Okay, top of pole mounts, much less popular than side of pole. Top of pole mounts are multi-module, they're also single module, but multi-module is more common. Adjustable from 26.5 inch rails all the way to 104 inches. 104 inches will accept basically 4 industrial grade 26 inch wide modules, tilt angles. It needs 2 part numbers. If you look on the bottom right, that picture, you'll see a cross piece. You'll see a square cap-like device. That's called a gimbal, okay? And that obviously flips over the top of a pole. And top of pole mounts are less forgiving than side of pole mounts. There's no adjustability. Like in side of pole mount, you can order a pole mount for a 2 to 4 inch pole, and it has band clamps, and will, usually go on anything in that 2 to 4 inch range. Whereas a gimbal has to be sized to the size of the pole. It's a separate line item, so it's the 2 parts that you order and you specify when you go to top of pole. Some of the advantages of top of pole versus side of pole: you get a little greater stability, so you can handle greater loads. Greater loads, what I mean, solar array loads, larger solar arrays, 2, 3, and 4 modules. Also, you get it up possibly higher in the sky. That may be important depending on your local shading conditions. And as I mentioned before, in a off-grid remote power application, these solar arrays are designed, and the battery banks are designed for worst-case situations, which is in the dead of winter when the sun is barely over the horizon. So couple pole mounts, a lot of times we'll get solar arrays taller than side pole mounts. That's sometimes a consideration. So go forward, please, Amy. Okay, roof mounts and ground mounts. We have this on one data sheet. We call it RGM because they're basically interchangeable, roof and ground. Of these types of mounts, we sell them mostly as ground mounts. Ground mounts, as you see these long rails, they are adjustable and they're telescoping, so they can adjust to the optimum angle again on the ground. Of course, if you're going to put a ground mount, you have to have a clear shot at the sun all year round. That's the primary consideration for choosing where to mount your solar arrays. You have to have a clear path to the sun 12 months out of the year. We sell probably of the adjustable versus flush, about 90-95% adjustable, because mostly ground mounts. Flush mounts are primarily on roofs and are not that common. So go ahead, next slide. We have data sheets for all of these products, very comprehensive, user-friendly, not too complicated. Amy has worked very hard to upgrade and update these data sheets, Amy and some of our engineering folks. So we have them available. And very easy to select proper mount in these data sheets. Next slide, please, Amy. We also have drawings, engineered diagrams for all of these mounts. And these are also extremely helpful when you want to get into the detail of what exactly these mounts are all about. And they are available through any of our sales reps. Next slide, please, Amy. And the third little wizard sheet I really like, because I'm always struggling, even though I've been in this business for 8 years selling mounts, which mount goes with which module. Well, Daryl Rankin, one of our engineers, put together this wonderful mount cheat sheet, which you can also use to say, okay, I've got a 13-inch, I've got a 5-watt SunWize panel or whatever, and which SunWize mount will it work with? We are in process, just as a footnote, of transitioning to different solar modules because of the tariff situation. So we're going to be upgrading this mount cheat sheet shortly with our new SunWize solar panel. So that will be coming. Okay. Again, this is available from any of us. All you have to do is ask us, and we'll send you a copy of this. Next slide, please, Amy.
I have a question from Fernando. He's asking about what measures of theft and vandalism prevention, specifically for the mounts. So it may be more relevant for the enclosure, which is our next section.
Well, Travis and Dave, I need you to comment on that. Can you handle that?
Yeah, this is Dave. I can comment. We can sell the mounts available with like tamper-proof, theft-proof hardware, like unidirectional screws or pin-in-hex head screws to prevent, or to at least, prevent or lessen the probability of theft. As far as vandalism in terms of protecting the solar module, we don't have a generic or off-the-shelf solution. We have worked on solutions where we put an acrylic or some kind of plexiglass type material in front of the array, which is quite common in rail particularly, and we can work out custom solutions like that if the need arises. So those are the primary things that are done. The other thing that we've done, and this has been primarily for defense departments, is to add an aluminum sheet to protect the backside of the module so that the EVA laminate or the Tedlar laminate sheet doesn't get torn. So we could put plastic material in front of the module, metal material behind the module, and tamper-proof hardware. those all three of those would have to be added. You'd have to just talk through it with the salesperson, and salesperson will work it out with engineering, and we give you a quote on those specific needs.
Thank you, Dave. That was great. And thank you for the question, Fernando. That was very helpful. And please, if you have any questions at all, please type them into the question box. All right, let's move on to battery enclosures.
Okay, as with the mounts, SunWize has been in the battery enclosure business for quite a while. These are all SunWize designed products. We have two primary products: pole-mounted enclosure, as you see there. And next slide, please, Amy. A chest-style ground-mounted enclosure. The pole-style enclosure has certain limitations. Basically, 4 Group 31 batteries is about the max because of the weight of the batteries. You can't put a ton of weight on a pole. The ground mounts are obviously for larger battery arrays, on up to 8D arrays. Next slide, please, Amy. And what are the types of battery enclosures? Well, the pole-mounted, it's a little bit. Pole-mounted actually can also be ground-mounted, I should mention, using a special ground-mounting accessory which anchors into a concrete pad, as long as that concrete pad has been prepped. We've done that before on bus shelters and so on and so forth, where you don't need the huge T-series enclosures, but you want to mount it on the ground. So they are pole-mounted, but all the pole-mounted ones also can be ground-mounted. We have 3 types of pole-mounted enclosures. The EC series, this is kind of C, E would be economy, C is another nomenclature for it. It's the same box, okay? F series of F and the WF series. I'll get into that a little bit more in the next few slides. And of course, the ground-mounted, the T series, chest style, and then we've got special large order enclosures, which we'll get into shortly. Next slide, please. Okay, here you see a picture of the economy enclosure, SunWize. It comes, it's aluminum mill finish. It's got a separate, as you can see, door, which can be hasp latched using a padlock. It is 1, 2, or 4. There's a hasp right there, and 1, 2, or 4 Group 31 batteries. Those are our options for that. So next slide, please. And the F series, F means, I guess, finish. It's a white powder-coated premium box, which is highly popular. We've got hundreds, if not thousands, of these out in the field over the past dozen years or so. Key lockable. These are all both NEMA 3R rated. Basically, it means it's rainproof. And again, we have styles for 1, 2, or 4 Group 31 batteries. That's those 3 configurations. Next slide, please. And there's a picture of the key lock, key latch. And the next one is the WF series. It's just an F series wider. Same principle, white powder coated, key lockable, front opening, just deeper. Okay. And we go to the T series, and same principle. They also are finished, white powder coated, and these are padlockable. And you notice the struts on the bottom allow them to be set up off of a pad, a concrete pad. Okay, next slide, please. And now we have a new UPS cabinet, and there's quite a few features and benefits of this cabinet, which are going to be shown on the next slide. And I believe Dave or Travis are going to talk about this.
Yeah, this is Dave. I'll speak to this UPS cabinet. So the primary, the driving force behind designing this cabinet was for a backup power supply, so UPS, uninterruptible power supply. Primarily, we do DC UPS, so we provide direct current backup power. This could be used for backup power for thermoelectric generator, could be used for backup power to a diesel or natural gas generator, gasoline generator. Also, effectively, it can be used as a backup power cabinet for a solar array as well, for one of our power ready systems or power online systems, or something you might put together yourself. And the features of this cabinet, Amy, you could probably, well, let me talk through this picture before we move to the next slide. So the way the cabinet's laid out, it is two parts. There's a bottom part and a top piece. We ship it as a single unit. The top cabinet is for the electronics, and the bottom cabinet is for the batteries. Both parts of the cabinet are outdoor rated. The battery cabinet has a removable shelf, so that battery cabinet can accommodate either 8D or L16 style batteries or 4D batteries. The basics of it, it can accommodate a tall battery like the 6-volt L16, or it can accommodate a short battery like the 8D or the Group 31 or the 4D. And it can accommodate various quantities of those batteries depending on whether one or two removable shelves are installed in the unit. The electronics cabinet is large. It has a large back plate in there to accommodate electronics and DIN rail. And then it has, over on the side, it has a spot for mounting the battery disconnect circuit breaker. There is a plastic, like an acrylic dead front to protect the operators from getting into all of the electronics and before they have disconnect, so they can disconnect the batteries before accessing all of the electronics. And you can see there's a lot of space for electronics. In these images, we have two large charge controllers, two charge controllers in there for low voltage disconnect purposes, a large AC to DC converter for battery charging or backup power supply. And then on the right side of the cabinet, you can see there's a outdoor rated receptacle for a 120 volt AC power supply to be plugged in to be used as a backup power source. So this cabinet, it can handle 6 batteries in the form of an 8D or 12 batteries in the form of an L16. So in maximum, it can handle about 12 to 1,300 amp hours of battery at 24 volts. So that would be 2,400 amp hours at 12 volts or 600 amp hours at 48 volts, depending on how you wire up your stringing. The cabinet depth it's deep enough to accommodate 4D or 8D batteries in their length, so you can slide the 8D or 4D in its length direction. And then, again, the movable shelves allow for various battery configurations and quantities. The plastic dead front is for safety. They're DIN-mounted circuit breakers and electronics. You could put a DC-DC converter for voltage regulation on the DIN rail. You put radio devices on the DIN rail. Really, it can be configured in any form that you need. And there's a lot of space in there for both the power conditioning, charge control type electronics, battery protection, low voltage disconnect electronics. There's also a lot of room in the cabinet where you could put your own equipment, such as microwave radios or various communications devices, electronics for cameras, Ethernet switches, all that sort of thing could be accommodated in that electronics cabinet. It can be ordered with locking or non-locking latches. It's aluminum, and it comes white powder coated. And this is a stocking item for us, so lead times will generally be fairly immediate. If we happen to be out of stock, lead time is 4 to 5 weeks. The doors have liftoff hinges and they're side openings, so you can either remove them and get them out of your way to do the work, or they just swing to the side. This cabinet, we find that it's extremely cost competitive to other cabinets that we've found in the market, which we find to be true of our entire enclosure and cabinet line. Even the big names in enclosures, we're super competitive to those. And we can customize the electronics backplate to your electronics configurations. Another, I guess, important thing to talk about is you could buy the enclosure as a component and stock it in your warehouse to build systems that you need. You could also have SunWize Power and Battery build the electronics backplates for you and ship them as sub-assemblies if that's of interest. So those are some of the key features. Patrick, you can take it back.
Thanks. Thanks. Very comprehensive. So moving on to enclosure mounting accessories. These are for all the C series, F series, and WS series. We have basically pole mounting brackets and pad mounting brackets. I mentioned earlier that all the pole mounted smaller enclosures can be pad mounted too, and that's how you do it. Pad mounting brackets. We order those as a separate line item. Same thing with the pole mounting brackets, that is a separate line item. Some integrators do their own pole mounts, but most of them buy this particular bracket because it's robust and it just does the job. Fits the enclosures well. So those are available as separate SKUs, separate line items. If you want to get those quoted, just make sure you include that. And the sales reps will usually ask you whether you need the bracket also. Next slide, please. And more accessories are interior mounting panels, side and back. They're either just blanks or they're pre-drilled. The most common one is the back panel. Everybody gets that blank because they want to do their own mounting and their own drilling. So those are like $10, $11, $12 items, so they're very inexpensive. Okay, go ahead. Next slide.
Patrick, I want to interrupt you for just a second. I have a question regarding the F-Series, basically. Fernando was asking about the specifically oil and gas applications for using these enclosures that are very close to the sea, and how many years warranty do we have against corrosion for the F-Series?
Okay. Dave, can you handle that, please?
Dave may have popped off.
Yeah, no, I'm actually on. Sorry, I didn't hit the mute button. So as far as warranty goes, we just have a 1-year warranty on our components. As far as actual life in practice goes with the powder-coated aluminum, we have a lot of systems out there that are in the marine environment or near the marine environment, and we don't see very many returns or complaints. I can't specifically speak to, at this moment, I can't explicitly speak to a particular example. I would be happy to follow up in more detail on that question. I would also be happy to, if there's a specific application that you'd like to explore. We've hired corrosion engineers and done corrosion rate analysis and whatnot on various systems that we've installed in the past, larger systems where we've looked at details around dielectrics and galvanic corrosion for dissimilar materials at junctions like where ground lugs, ground wires connect to the enclosures, and things like that. So happy to address a specific need. We haven't seen extensive problems with them.
All right, thanks, Dave. I'll make sure to send you that email so you can follow up and stuff.
Thank you.
Thanks for the question. Patrick, any more thoughts on this slide?
Well, I went through this pretty fast. I'd just like to encourage you, we're going to put our contact information up there. Myself, Mark Perry, Heidi Eland. Please follow up if there's any kind of any questions whatsoever. We'd be glad to go into greater detail. Well, and very importantly, send you the data sheets, the drawings as needed, and that cheat sheet that we have. Those are kind of really solid documents that I refer to all the time in my work, so it really helps a lot. Again, we're going to reinforce the idea of SunWize Connect, which is an online portal. If you have an account, it's very easy to set up. Just get a login and password like anything else. You log on, and if you don't have an account, it's fairly easy to set up an account. Even if it's a credit card account, it's not a You can set that up fairly quickly. So I would encourage you to pursue that. And you can email me if you have any questions with regard to SunWize Connect. I'll probably send them to Amy because she's the SunWize Connect expert. I'm not. But we've got a little sign-up sheet that Amy just put up here to be a new customer. It takes about 5 minutes to fill out. It's just a one-pager. It's not asking for a lot of information. You can find that online at sunwizepower.com/new, or you can, again, email us, and we'll be glad to send it to you. Next, Amy.
This is just overview of all the various items. We're not, SunWize Connect has not just the mounts and the enclosures that we covered today, but we have charge controllers, modules, solar batteries, and things like that. So please check it out. And thanks, Fernando, for the props to SunWize Connect. Yes, it is really awesome, but we are always open to improving. So if you have any feedback on that as well, feel free to send it my way. And that.
I want to very much thank you for your business. The customers are online, and Amy's showing our contact information right now. So make sure to grab that and email me or Heidi or Mark. Dave, do you have any last words?
Yeah, Amy, can the audience hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, no, this is Dave Evelyn. I'm the president of SunWize Power and Battery, and I just want to thank you for your business as well. We appreciate it. We're very focused on the industrial power business. I would say more focused than we've been for several years on improving products, improving services, decreasing lead times, having the right inventory. There's a lot of emphasis going on. I appreciate everyone who attended the webinar. I appreciate any questions or feedback about our business, about these specific parts. I just wanted to make note to you that we have several webinars that we're giving throughout the course of the year, every month, every quarter. We're giving several webinars on batteries, enclosures, modules, power electronics, charge control, surge suppression, DC-DC converting, AC-DC converting, all of that, as well as just how to use SunWize Connect effectively in your business to place orders, but also to track your orders and check status of your account and orders. There's going to be a SunWize Connect, most likely going to be a SunWize Connect webinar at the end of April or the beginning of May to sort of announce improvements that we've made or that we are going to be making to SunWize Connect. Those are in action. So just a lot of good things going on, but we always encourage or want to hear your feedback on things that we can do to improve our business to support remote industrial power customers. So thank you for attending.
That was a great wrap-up, Dave. So this is the end of our webinar. We have a few follow-up questions, one of them being a question from Josh asking about trough mounts for membrane-type roofs. Do we have any comments on that?
I may. Did you say trough?
That's what I'm seeing as the question. Yeah.
Okay. No, I think that I know what. I believe that he's thinking about mounts for ballasting the solar array on the roof. So essentially, a trough that holds ballast weight. Is that, if I could ask, if that's the right? Am I thinking along the right lines?
He says yes.
Okay. So we don't specifically have those for these products. We've done a lot of that for large membrane or large solar arrays on membrane roofs. We don't explicitly have a product in our industrial lineup where the roof ground mount mounts to a ballasting trough. I would love to hear more about the application need. It's not a super challenge to design that, but it's not something that we carry as a standard part right now, and I'd just be interested to understand the market need, and then we could address it.
Thanks, Dave. I hope that answers your question, Josh. I have another one from Marty asking about lead times for specifically E2 250.
be as a stock item. We had a little challenge in lead times about a year ago, but I think we're doing pretty good right now, keeping that product in stock and turning around, get it out the door in 24, 48 hours usually. Is that correct, Dave?
I believe that is true. For the most part, with both mounts and enclosures, that's a very true story. Yeah, there are volume limits, so if the order is very large, then we might not have adequate stock to respond immediately. But for standard orders, or just, you know, for every item we have a stocking level, maximum stocking levels. We're stocking around those, and if the order happens to be within those maximums, we can deliver pretty much immediately. If it's outside of those, then it might take anywhere from 3 to 5 weeks to deliver an enclosure. I would just encourage that if there's a high volume order, please try to give us a heads up, because we can get ahead of that, and we can, or if we can ship it in 2 shipments or whatnot, we can tighten up lead time.
Any other questions, Amy?
I have one question from Fernando for Certificate of Origin for NFTA for import into Mexico.
Yeah, so all of these items are manufactured in the U.S., and so that the finished product is a product of the United States. I have been able to also get certificate of origin for the raw material when needed. And so, Fernando, are you referring to the finished product or the raw material?
He says the modules actually with FM certification class 1.
Oh, okay. So for solar modules, we can deliver country of origin certificates. We do not make those in the United States. They generally, for the most part, the modules are coming from either China or from India.
All right. I hope that answers everyone's questions. I don't see any other ones pending right now. If you have follow-up questions, there is contact information on the screen. Feel free to reach out to any of our employees and salespeople, and we'll be happy to help you. Thank you all for attending. Thank you, Patrick. Thanks, Dave.
Thank you everybody for attending.